Imagine for a moment, if you could just redraw the line between life and death. What if arcane science, sparks of energy, could actually animate the inanimate, maybe even bring back what's gone?
Hmm. Yeah, that whole idea of creation versus, well, recreation, it's definitely been on my mind. Actually, just last week in our game, we got a pretty sharp lesson in mortality.
And
Well, we were in these old crypts, classic stuff, and my bard, being a bit too confident perhaps, steps on a pressure plate. Boom! This wave of nasty green energy hits us,
oh,
and our dwarf fighter just down. Instantly, no heroic speech, just gone. Suddenly we're facing this spectral guardian thing without our main tank. It wasn't ideal.
oof. Yeah, moments like that definitely make you think about, well, other options. Maybe options that aren't exactly blessed by the gods.
Exactly, and made me think straight away about that new Unearthed Arcana, the May 2025 one, specifically the Reanimator Artificer. I saw the review over on LitRPG Reads, and it really grabbed me because this isn't your typical artificer.
Right, usually it's all clockwork pets and gadgets.
Totally. Forget the polished metal. This Reanimator thing is, well, it's different. More organic, maybe.
Organic how?
Yeah.
I'm still picturing gears and maybe some glowing runes, not like Missy Labs.
That's the shift. That RPG Reads use this great phrase, something like Dr. Frankenstein's attic in a storm-battered laboratory.
Yeah.
That really sets the scene, doesn't it? It's leaning hard into body horror, a bit of that mad science vibe, messing with life and death itself.
Okay, intriguing. So less precise engineering, more
Yeah.
arcane flesh crafting maybe,
Yeah.
with lightning involved?
That's pretty much the heart of it, yeah. It's this blend of arcane knowledge and this almost obsessive drive to manipulate biological processes. It's a big step away from the usual artificer focus. Think less gleaming automaton, more twitching composite.
Okay, I was going to get the picture. So how does that translate into their spells? Is it still recognizably artificer or pure necromancy?
It's a really interesting mix, actually. The spell list reflects that duality. You get necromancy spells, sure, but they often feel like they have this sort of electrical, scientific twist.
Like what?
Well, LitRPG Reads pointed out false life, which fits perfectly, right? Giving this sort of temporary artificial vitality. Then there's lightning bolt.
Lightning bolt. Huh. That's not typically necromancy?
Exactly. It ties into that whole spark of life, galvanic energy theme, but then you also get the classics like animate dead, so it's definitely got necromancer chops, and blight for that destructive necrotic touch. Later on, even raised dead.
So a real
It's curated for flavor more than just raw efficiency. It's about making you feel like that reanimator, using lightning to make nerves fire, false life making dead eyes flicker. It encourages creative thinking.
That paints a vivid picture. So level 3. What abilities kick things off? How does this fantasy start showing up in the mechanics?
Okay, level 3 is where you really see it take shape. You get two main things, Jolt to life and your Reanimated Companion.
Jolt to life. What's that do?
It supercharges Spare the Dying. Instead of just stabilizing one person with a touch, it becomes this, area of effect pulse. Often described with lightning visuals, it can jolt multiple downed allies stable at once. Later RPG Reads mentioned how it creates these really dramatic battlefield saves, like a surge of energy, bringing people back from the brink.
That's way more dynamic than the standard cantrip.
Yep.
And the Reanimated Companion. That's the pet, right?
That's the pet. But forget the sleek steel defender. This is described as a stitched-together horror. It's not just about soaking up hits, though it can do that. It's meant to be a really versatile tool.
Versatile how?
Well, LitRPG Reads listed a bunch of uses. It's got resistance to necrotic and lightning damage, so it can absorb specific kinds of attacks. You can use it for scouting, blocking paths, setting up flanking, even triggering opportunity attacks from enemies.
A stitched horror that can scout and flank. Interesting combination. Anything else it brings to the table?
Oh yeah, it has this death burst feature. When it's destroyed, it explodes in a wave of necrotic energy. So tactical positioning, area denial, maybe even a final screw you to whatever killed it.
Yeah.
Plus, it can carry stuff, act as an anchor point for your lightning spells, provide flanking as mentioned, maybe even trigger traps safely. The review really hammered home that this companion adds a layer of tactical thinking, almost like a puzzle piece in combat.
So it's not just sick 'em. You got to think about how you use it.
Precisely. The review dug into its stat block a bit, too. Its HP scales with your level, which is good. Those resistances are key. It gets dark vision, scaling perception for scouting, and its main attack, Dreadful Swipe, can impose the frightened condition.
Frightened. Okay, that's some decent control right there. Along with the death burst for area denial.
Yeah, exactly. It shapes the battlefield. And LitRPG Reads kind of framed it as a trickster pet. It's not necessarily about raw damage output like maybe a Beastmaster's companion can be, or the pure tankiness of the Steel Defender. It's more about synergy, clever placement, maybe even sacrificing it strategically.
Sacrificing it. Okay, hold that thought. Let's talk customization first. How do you make this horror your own?
Right, so levels 5 and 9 bring strange modifications and improved reanimation. This is where you really lean into that mad scientist persona. The review emphasized how this lets each reanimator's companion feel unique, like a personal, maybe slightly disturbing creation.
So you're actively tinkering with your monster, adding bits.
Exactly. You get mechanical upgrades mixed with really evocative flavor options. LitRPG Reads gave some great examples like maybe you install electrical nodes to boost your lightning spells when they hit near it, or give it acid-dripping jaws for retaliation damage.
Okay, that's cool.
Or maybe limbs adapted for climbing, or stealth adaptations. Even things like a thunder-landed maw for a concussive blast on death, or extra plating, or maybe it's filled with gas. Grappling appendages, the review mentioned possibilities like an owl-like form for scouting multiple heads. It seems really open.
That sounds amazing for role-playing. You're not just picking a stat boost. You're describing how you modify your creation.
Absolutely. It's all about making it yours. That player agency seems like a huge draw. You could build a fragile-looking thing that secretly enhances your spells, or a heavily padded scout. Lots of potential.
All right, so you've got your personalized, potentially multi-limbed, acid-dripping companion. What's the payoff at high levels? Level 15 capstone.
Level 15 gives you Promethean reanimation, and the review pointed out it's maybe less flashy than some capstones, focusing more on consolidating your abilities and enhancing synergy.
Okay, what does it do?
You get facilitated revival, making it easier to use rituals like Raise Dead, and improved companion, which is a straightforward boost. Better stats, better resistances, stronger attacks for your pet, makes it a more reliable fixture.
Beast up the buddy. Makes sense.
But the real core of it, according to the review, is life transfer. This connects back to that sacrifice idea. You can choose to destroy your companion, triggering its death burst, but instead of just damage, it heals you or a nearby ally.
Whoa. Okay, so you can pop your pet for a heal. That's a big choice.
It's fascinating, right? The review explored the tactical depth. Is it an emergency self-heal, a way to save a key ally? Do you use the burst for area denial and healing? Maybe you bait enemies near your weakened companion, knowing you can sacrifice it for value. It really pushes that strategic resource management angle. Consistent play over one big boom.
Okay, this paints a really distinct picture. But how does this reanimator feel different from, say, a necromancer wizard or an undead warlock? They all deal with undead things.
That's a key comparison, and the review addressed it well. Unlike a necromancy wizard who might be summoning hordes, the reanimator is all about their one creation. It's personal, very focused.
Yes, one companion versus an army.
Yeah, and where an undead warlock gets power from a pact, often fiendish or otherworldly, the reanimator is presented as doing it themselves through arcane science, maybe even risky experimentation. And it's different from a grave cleric, too, who's more about the balance of life and death from a divine perspective, not necessarily building things in a lab.
So it's the method and the focus. Less about commanding legions, more like a very dedicated, probably ethically dubious personal project.
Exactly. The review highlighted those points. The solo construct focus, the mad science vibe, the emphasis on pet customization and durability, the lightning and acid themes, the flexible utility of the companion. It carves out the specific Frankensteinian pet class niche that wasn't really filled before.
Interesting niche. Now, the big question with any new UA balance, is this thing going to break the game or is it just cool flavor?
The review touched on that. The main things to watch seem to be the action economy, how much the pet does versus the artificer, and its survivability, especially at higher levels. Early on, it seems pretty potent with the unique healing and the companion's tricks.
And later.
Later on, its effectiveness might depend more on how smartly you've customized it and how well you use its abilities tactically. It might need more active management than some simpler pets.
So, needs a bit of player skill to keep it humming. What's the verdict on power level?
LitRPG Reads suggested it seems generally balanced, probably in line with other dedicated pet subclasses, but they did advise DMs might need to keep an eye on its scaling, especially damage and HP, just to make sure things stay challenging. It looks like it rewards smart play.
Okay, makes sense. And what are players saying? What's the initial reaction out there to this? electrifying new option.
Huh, yeah. According to LitRPG Reads, the vibe is mostly really positive. People seem genuinely excited by the flavor, the horror aesthetic, the role-playing potential, finally getting that official mad scientist character archetype.
Sounds about right. Any concerns being raised?
Yeah, some discussion points came up. Things like, how tough is the companion really compared to, say, a steel defender or a good beastmaster pet? And some folks are comparing it to homebrew stuff that already tried this theme. Understandable questions.
Any specific quotes or highlights from the community?
The review shared a few. Someone was thrilled to finally play the "it's alive" trope with actual rule support. Another called it more Frankenstein than fairy tale, which sums it up nicely. Some felt the capstone maybe wasn't spectacular enough, but others loved the endless horror roleplay possibilities. And someone did ask if the companions can wear hats.
Crucial information. Needs to be addressed in the final version. But overall, sounds like a lot of enthusiasm, a feeling that this adds something genuinely new and cool.
Definitely. And LitRPG Reads made the good point that all this feedback is exactly what the playtest process is for. It'll help fine-tune it.
Well, this has been a really interesting deep dive. The Reanimator Artificer definitely feels like a unique spin, blending that arcane science with necromantic themes in a way we haven't quite seen before.
Agreed. It's got that innovative mix, and the Reanimated Companion is such a distinct centerpiece. The
Yeah.
customization, the tactical play. It really seems geared towards players who like to get creative and maybe a little unconventional with their characters.
Absolutely. So big thanks to LitRPG Reads for their detailed review, and naturally, a shout out to Paul Bello, fine fellow that he is.
And now over to you listening. What do you think of the Reanimator Artificer? Does this spark your imagination? If you've tried it out, how did it play? Let us know your thoughts, your builds, your weird creations down in the comments.
Yeah, share those stories. And maybe as you mull it over, think about this. In your games, where do you draw the line between science and magic, life and death, creation, and something else? Until next time, keep experimenting.